Chapter 2. Fire Spring. The fire spring, encircled by stones, steamed and shimmered brilliantly in a world perpetually cloaked in darkness. The glow seemed even more vivid against the nighttime backdrop. Qin Ming crouched down, fishing out a radiant stone from the pool. It was as lustrous as red coral, casting iridescent light in all directions. The sunstones used by every household originated here. Once extinguished, they could be returned to the pool, gradually regaining their luminosity over time. The entire pool glowed with a fiery red light, reminiscent of molten lava, though it was cooler than a human's body temperature. The water's shimmering reflections and dancing firelight revealed it as neither true fire nor actual water, but rather an extraordinarily unique substance. In an era devoid of daylight, where only shallow night and deep night prevailed, the fire spring was of utmost importance. Whether it was mutated silver wheat or everyday crops like sweet potatoes, all needed the fire spring's irrigation to grow. Moreover, people could not adapt well without regular exposure to the fire spring. One could say it was the cornerstone of survival. Even in this sunless world, 4 seasons were distinguishable. Spring and summer marked the fire spring's active phase, gurgling to meet agricultural needs. In contrast, winter signaled its waning period. For Twin Tree Village, although the pool remained bright, it only served to nurture sunstones for illumination purposes. Overall, in this era without daylight, people lived by chasing the fire. The fire spring, so conspicuous in the dark, naturally attracted the attention of various creatures from the shadows. Thankfully, each had its territory, maintaining a fragile balance most of the time. Twin Tree Village faced food shortages primarily because the harvest season was sabotaged by a monstrous bird. Its beak sliced through wheat stalks like a scythe, stripping bare entire clusters in one bite. There were also ant plagues and some human-related issues, threatening to cause starvation by winter's end. Now it was shallow night, when the night was relatively mild, and the occasional earthlight emerged in the distance, vaguely outlining the dense forest. In deep night, however, nothing was visible. The world was silent and ominously dark. Qin Ming pondered when he might venture out to resolve the dire food scarcity. Peering into the wilderness, he saw only darkness. The snow already reached chest height, rendering the environment harsh and unforgiving. At the village's edge, the fire spring cast a bright domain. The cold wind swept across the 16-square-meter pool, where ripples danced in the flickering firelight. Snow lightly fell from the laden boughs of black and white twin trees, glittering in the fiery glow. The trees' leaves, with a faint jasper sheen, resisted the harsh cold, but were only useful in summer to repel insects. The icy snowflakes landing on his neck jolted Qin Ming back to reality. He needed to strengthen his body, for the outside world was perilous. He retraced his steps, passing through houses lit by flickering lamps. While the wilderness behind lay in utter blackness, everything withered like a giant beast poised to devour all. Standing in his courtyard, Qin Ming indulged in well-practiced exercises. His movements were fluid and skilled, honed over many years to the point of instinct. After a while, sweating and warm, he finally stopped. Entering his room, he took out a tiny crystal vial, no longer than a thumb, intricately carved and delicate, containing icy blue liquid. He carefully inspected it, admiring its splendor under the sunstone's glow. The sophisticated bottle bore 2 characters: mineral essence. The blue liquid within was mesmerizing, and a soft shake made blue mist swirl dreamily inside. Qin Ming resisted the urge to open the vial. Having just recovered from a severe illness, using the blue liquid would do more harm than good. He had stumbled upon it by accident in the treacherous mountain terrain, having only heard of mineral essence before, but never having access to such a rare treasure. When in optimal health, it could enhance one's physique and invigorate the mind. But after a miraculous escape from the mountains, he fell seriously ill, having yet to try it. Perhaps in a few days, he thought, carefully stowing the crystal vial away. A cold wind blew through, scattering snowflakes. Qin Ming, living alone, found his peaceful courtyard chilly, even desolate, but he was used to it. As time ticked by and night deepened, shallow night was about to end. Lu Zhe arrived with a boy of about 5, bundled up tightly, though his small face was still rosy from the cold. "When Rui has grown taller," said Qin Ming, measuring the boy's height. "Uncle, are you feeling better yet?" asked Lu Wenrui, looking up with wide, clear eyes, radiating innocence and concern. Qin Ming smiled warmly. "I'm fine now. In a few days, I'll catch a talking robin for you." "A talking robin that can speak to humans? Really? Wow." Little Wenrui's eyes sparkled with joy. "Things are odd out there," Lu Zhe warned, handing Qin Ming a meal box, urging caution about venturing out. Despite its coarseness and hard texture, the rough rice was a welcome sight for Qin Ming, offering much-needed sustenance from his meager 2 meals a day. He savored the few red dates mixed in. They were deliciously sweet and tender. Noticing little Wenrui staring intently, swallowing involuntarily, Qin Ming crouched down, feeling guilty. "Wenrui, tell Uncle, are you still hungry?" "No, he just saw the red dates." Lu Zhe shook his head dismissively. Without hesitation, Qin Ming offered the dates to the beautiful and sincere boy. Lu Zhe interjected, "Your sister-in-law placed those for you to regain strength. Don't give them away." Just then, Liang Wangqing arrived and addressed Wenrui. "Your Uncle Qin is weak. Without meat or supplements, you mustn't be greedy." Her intentions weren't bad. Earlier, she thought Qin Ming wouldn't survive, much like the other villagers, so helping would be in vain. Now, seeing him improve from his stupor, she wanted to help, despite her family's dwindling supplies. Little Wenrui obediently nodded, his big eyes blinking. "Uncle, eat quickly and get well. I'm not hungry." Qin Ming felt too moved to eat. Insisting on giving the dates to Wenrui, he resolved to explore the forest soon. He was grateful to the couple, but refrained from excessive thanks, focusing instead on understanding the external situation. Liang Wangqing soon left, needing to care for their toddler at home. "There's a large creature in the forest recently, causing casualties," Lu Zhe advised against solitary outings due to the danger. Qin Ming nodded thoughtfully, listening intently. Whether it was the result of harsh snowstorms impeding wildlife sustenance or other reasons, the wilderness seemed astir. Particularly alarming was the area where Qin Ming contracted the strange illness, once pierced by eyes more luminous than sunstones, silencing the forest instantly. Recounting this, he couldn't help but recall the perilous ordeal a month ago. That day, in the pitch-black forest, he and 3 companions had suddenly lost footing, plunging into a crevice. The underground was eerily abnormal, transitioning from intense darkness to blinding light that seared the eyes. Most distressingly, his heart pounded relentlessly, like a war drum echoing even outside his chest. Recalling this, even now, Qin Ming felt unease. He found himself immobilized, blood coursing rapidly, hearing a phantom waterfall. He was convinced his heart would explode. Eventually, the crevice wasn't as glaring. Silvery threads appeared, like silkworm strands or spider webs, entangling, disorienting him completely. His head throbbed, while the others lost consciousness. Only once the argent threads vanished into darkness did Qin Ming's heart stabilize, restoring his mobility. Assisting each companion out, though they took long to revive. Near the fissure, he discovered several bodies, well-dressed and seemingly recently deceased. Driven by pragmatic simplicity, he had searched them quickly, finding the crystal vial of blue liquid then. He never mentioned the vial to Lu Zhe, fearing complications from the prominent origins of the deceased. With many wild beasts in the mountains, he expected all traces to vanish. On their return to the village, Qin Ming's group grew unwell, staggering, consciousness faltering. 3 companions perished upon their return, bodies blackening. Only Qin Ming survived the ordeal, recuperating over a month. After eating the plain rice, Qin Ming chatted with Lu Ze for a long while. Wen Rui, well-mannered, listened quietly. Gradually, the atmosphere lightened. Looking at the slightly shy boy, Qin Ming said, "When I recover, Wen Rui, you'll have all the dates and hazelnuts you want. Any meat?" "I haven't had any in ages," little Wen Rui whispered, swallowing, recalling past tastes, hope lighting up his red cheeks. "There will be," Qin Ming promised, affectionately ruffling his hair. Darkness clawed closer as Lu Ze rose, taking Wen Rui home. Inside, in the dimming copper bowl, the sunstone's flames waned. Qin Ming sat in silent meditation, visualizing himself practicing specific movements for training his consciousness until his mind emptied. The moment he opened his eyes, he glimpsed a faint silver glow flash erratically. An illusion? He blinked, unsure. Despite it being a fleeting glance, he trusted his eyes. There were indeed subtle silver ripples fleetingly dissipating from his body surface. This particular training method had been his routine for years, yet until now there had been no noticeable changes. Today was unprecedented. Qin Ming noticed a fine sweat coating him, akin to intense exercise, yet he felt vibrant. In the courtyard, his eyes shone brightly. His body executed those familiar movements with precision. His immersion was profound. Soon, his body heated, life essence unfurling, reminiscent of rain over desert sands. Eventually, drenched with sweat, a vapor rose from his head. He felt remarkably rejuvenated, as though the last traces of his ailment had flushed away. When fatigue clawed at him, forcing him to halt, he saw with clarity thin wisps of silver light emerged fleetingly from his skin. This is different, he realized. Qin Ming experienced a surge of vitality, genuine warmth coursing through him, nurturing every fiber, amplifying his vigor. After resting briefly, he craved to train further, but hunger growled vehemently, having already eaten dinner. Stopping immediately, reluctance to deplete energy, he wouldn't excuse asking Lu Ze for more. Wet from sweat, his clothes soaked through, he prepared hot water for washing. Confronted with his reflection, the once pale face now flushed with color, he resolved, "Almost fully recovered, I must act tomorrow." Unwilling to burden or inconvenience others, as soon as feasible, he aimed to resolve the food shortages, ceasing dependency. Returning the extinguished sunstone to the fire spring, he kept only a small piece to light his way back. He watched as the village lights dimmed, surrendering to enveloping darkness. The cold winter night whipped with fierce winds, snow flecked, obscuring the village. Starving. Not yet bedtime, craving gnawed at him, his stomach a flaring furnace. Even a lowly field mouse would have sufficed. Yet, even rodent burrows were barren in these harsh times. Compelling himself to sleep earlier, hunger tugged his consciousness, elusive dreams slipping by. Desperate distraction turned to cherished memories, the indistinct faces etched in his heart. Returning thoughts to his unconventional exercises, he marveled at their newfound efficacy, excited by what changes might appear witness to faint silver ripples once again. Drifting to thoughts of buried, juicy berries or roasted lamb legs glistening on campfires. "Stop! That's out of line!" he chided, tightly pinching himself. Resolute, at shallow night's onset, he would trek out, driven by fulfilling Wen Rui's wish, even as hunger made him swallow reflexively. Dreaming of food, his longing accompanying him to sleep.